Okay, so the bad podcast is no more. The band of brothers have disbanded. We were so bad we couldn't keep it going, and now it's the You're Worth It podcast.
Yes, so welcome to the first You're Worth It podcast.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to get Austin to make an intro. Did you like the bad podcast intro? Can we just redo it for You're Worth It?
We'll see about that. So really what's happening is obviously it's going to be a lot of Brad and I on this podcast, but I don't know. Am I kind of the leader in this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I might bring on some guests. We might have some special mom topics. But overall, we're going to talk about marriage and relationships, things that maybe don't get talked about on social media or Twitch, just making it a little bit different.
So like fitness, family,
relationships,
stuff. Yeah. I count that as family.
Okay.
But sure. I was going for like F words. for relationships.
Fornication. No, we can't.
Oh gosh. Whoa.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
Sorry. That's the only F word I could think of.
That's the only F word you could think of?
But
what about for people that don't know who we are, that just stumble on this podcast?
My goodness. Well, hello there. Welcome to, Brad and Aubrey's life. I guess.
Who is Aubrie Bromlow?
Who knows, man? I don't even know most of the time. Historically speaking, what social media knows is that, Aubrie and Brad started their YouTube channel and social media platforms about 5 years ago. So in 6 years ago?
Yeah.
2016, which I
May of
cannot
2016,
believe.
Determine Your Worth was born.
Insane. So Determine Your Worth was our baby.
First
It was
LLC,
our first
yeah.
LLC. It was our coaching company. And out of that, a couple years later came Memories Over Macros, which is what people know as my coaching company now. It's online coaching. So we have that going on. And then in 2018, we started Fat and Weird Cookie Company, which is Brad's baby. And I obviously help him with that. But those are our two main
companies. And then we have companies with partners. In 2020, we created Motive brand, which launched in 2021. And then in 2022, we started Murphy Bromlow Rentals. So
technically, we're business owners. We are the owners of like startup companies, really. But our pages on social media started out as fitness and food, and they've slowly transformed into lifestyle, which incorporates travel and
still fitness and food.
Right. Still fitness and food for sure. Just kind of sharing our lives. And now that we have a child, which we have a 1-year-old now, we started sharing more about parenthood.
Yeah. And I'm going to say hey to Sez. We stream our podcast on Twitch so that people can come in and interact with us. We try to keep it moving on the podcast itself, so we're not as active responding to people as we are on Monday and Wednesday when we do Twitch from 7 to 8 Central, which is more of like a hangout, just chatting. But we do love when y'all drop in and maybe ask questions about what the topics that we're talking about so we can elaborate on them more. But Aubrie decided today she wanted to do kind of like marriage themed stuff, and we were going to go over like 100 conversational questions to ask your spouse. Obviously, we're not going to ask all 100 questions.
No, but I thought it'd be a good, just kind of like starting point. So I firmly believe that most couples out there, whether you're married or not, are not having actual conversations. For females, it is really important, I would say, for most females, to like have those conversations face to face, like eye contact. And like I said, it just doesn't happen a lot, especially given that we all have our phones now. So this will be great for Brad and I, but it's something also that I encourage you to do at home.
Yeah, there was actually a marriage counselor, I think, that I heard speak on social media, and he said that the number one thing to save your marriage is devoting 30 minutes a day to conversation. And I think a lot of people are like, well, what do we talk about? Like, especially Aubrie and I, like we spend all day together. So sometimes it's like, I could ask her about her day, but like I literally watched her day. I don't know like the intricacies of like you were sending emails or who you were talking to, or maybe like if there was something that you had to overcome that day. But like in general, like I know what you ate for lunch. Like I know what you ate for breakfast. Like I know what you wore. Like you know what I mean? Like I know about your day, I guess, more than like the someone that like leaves, and drives to work and,
Yeah, Brad
sits at
and
a
I's
computer desk.
situation is definitely a little bit different than the norm. But even still, we don't spend those 30 minutes a day sometimes.
Yeah, but I already have seen some of these questions, and so I actually want to know the answer to some of these questions. So
I
I
know.
think that this will be fun. So we'll just like go through a couple of them.
All we did was Google 100 conversational questions to ask your spouse, so you can
Yeah.
find it too. What's the first
Some of them like that. The first question is, if you could relive a year in your life, what age would you choose? And this one's like really, really hard for me because like I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. Like I feel like my life's getting better and better. So like I'm a fan of this year, I don't know.
Oh, okay. So, just me as a person, I feel like I usually see the silver lining in most situations. So I can reflect on a lot of years. And even though there were like some horrible things, let's say, that happened, I usually just remember the good. So this question is really tough. It's almost like I want to categorize it between like, all right, childhood and then like my 20s, let's say college, and then lately.
No, just 1 year. You only get
I
1
know.
year.
1 year, relive a year in your life. I would say, yeah, I would say that pregnancy and having Letty.
Yeah, so
Somewhere
I
in
actually
that zone.
yeah, so I was actually gonna say right before you got pregnant, like when we went on the like I would end it right before COVID, which would have been like 2020.
Mhm.
So like I would say from the year I would pick would be probably like March 2019 through March of 2020 because that was like that we did a lot of really fun stuff. I feel like that year. Fat and Weird was really taking off. We went on cruise. We did like that whole trip in February. That was like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
No, I would agree. And I think we went to Germany, didn't we?
yeah,
Somewhere in there?
FIBO. Yeah. Was that 20? That was 2019.
Yeah, and I remember thinking like,
April
man,
2019.
we're going to travel so much. And then COVID happened, obviously, and it kind of ruined everything.
And then we did the Arnold. So we did the Arnold in March. We did FIBO in April. We like had I think a pretty good summer and everything because that was that was. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, yeah, we
it's
moved
hard for me to
we moved into
remember.
the house in July of that year. Like
Yeah.
we moved into Veranda Avenue. So, like, I mean, I think that was a fun year. I mean, there were
don't
some
get
things
me
that
wrong,
were
there was
hard.
probably like some aches and pains with Fat and Weird. It's usually Fat and Weird, because growing business, just that's what it comes with. But
No, that July of that year is when we moved into like the new small kitchen. So, yeah, I think that was a good year. I would pick that year. Just because I don't know if I could pick another one off the top of my head.
So
I mean,
mine-
I also like 2015 was great.
the year that we met,
Yeah, I mean, like that was fun. I remember going to the pool all the time, like
Right.
hanging out. Like it was
It
pretty
was.
lax. Like
yeah, I think when you first meet someone,
we moved
that
into
you're,
our
like,
first home
totally in love
together.
with, yeah, I think that's
But obviously,
that's
we
really
had
great.
some bumps and bruises along that way too. But
Right. So that's what I'm saying is like, I can reflect on like a year and say, yeah, I don't, there were some like little hiccups, but I would say mine would be right after what you're referring to, maybe like a mix of it and then right after, because that year for me was a lot of, I mean, I was like in turmoil about not being able to get pregnant, truthfully. So
Yeah.
I do remember a lot of like
yeah,
bad feelings. So yeah.
okay.
That answers that question.
What physical feature of mine do you hope our kids receive?
Physical features. Okay. I love your skin color. Just, it's always so nice. So I'm hoping that Letty gets your skin.
My complexion.
Yeah, complexion. Let's see. I know that I voiced this, but like your bony knees, like I I hope she doesn't get my elephant knees. That's what I call them. And I'm saying that like funnily because I do, like, it's funny to me now. It used to be something that I was self-conscious about, but I just have like fat around my knees, like, and quads, and that's never going to change. So I'm comfortable with it now, but I would rather her have your lean legs.
I hope that she gets your eyes and mouth.
Oh, that's
Like you have pretty eyes and you have luscious lips.
oh, thanks.
Yeah.
So nice. I'm curious about her jawline. Because we both have pretty strong jawlines.
My jawlines are very strong.
Right.
Yeah.
But you also, you said that you had an underbite that got fixed. So
No. I never got fixed, but it just moved my teeth.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't break my jaw. So.
At what point do we know whether she has an underbite? I think we would know by now.
No. I feel like my face didn't get like longer until like
puberty.
Like got older. Yeah. I think your hormones like affect you, all that stuff. So.
Yeah, that's true.
What is your favorite date of ours? Is that hard for you to think about? You're like, oh man.
I don't know.
So probably the cruise that we went on with Connor and Lauren is like one of my favorite cruises that we went on. And it was because like
long date.
Well, yeah, I mean I count that as like a date because it's a trip. I mean, if you just pick single date, the Arizona baby moon was like a date because that was just a date. It was a night, and we were just in that place for a night, really. You know, okay. We like went to dinner, and then
I'm gonna think about our more traditional like dates where it's like we left and came home.
Okay.
Rather than a vacation. There was one date that I feel like you took me somewhere to eat, and then you're like, "Hey, you want to go to Target afterwards?" And I feel like I don't know why I'm remembering that. It was here in Panama City.
Was it the Target on the beach?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I don't even remember that.
It's so silly and stupid.
Where did we eat dinner?
Like some of our day dates.
Where did we eat dinner?
I don't remember.
It can't be that good if you don't remember where we ate dinner.
I'm just remembering thinking like, oh my God, that's so sweet that he asked. Like, let's spend more time together. So I don't remember like something super extravagant, but
yeah, I just like that we went to Target. So Hannah asked, how many kids do we desire to have? And my answer is 2. Like if we had, especially if I could be like girl, boy, done, boom, you know.
Right.
If we had another girl, would that make me want to have a third kid? No, I don't think so. I mean, I think deep down inside you always wonder, like, what would my son look like? What would it be like? But I just don't think I could do 3 kids. I just don't.
Right, and that's where I'm at too. Like, I think 2 sounds really great. 3 doesn't sound bad. I just don't think
if we have 3, at that point I'd be just like, why not have 4? You know, it's just like,
gosh, yeah. So a third one, I could see like kind of how your family works, where like 7 years later, Stacey was born. I could see that. But
could you imagine though, like getting
a little bit too old?
Yeah, you feel like you've gotten not just that, you feel like you've gotten past like all the kid stuff, right. And then it's like boom, here it is again.
Know, but I love the kid and baby stuff, so I'm just saying. That's why I think I could see it, because I love the stage that Letty's at. I loved her as a baby. Like, I just love that age. I have so much fun. But I know it's not like your absolute favorite. So
yeah, I mean it's more and more my favorite as she's gotten older. But I feel like 2 to 3 to 4 is probably gonna be my favorite age. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess
we'll see. It's all first time for me. So, let's see. Those questions are like, you know, have you ever been in a studio audience for a TV show? I haven't. I don't think you have either.
I was trying to think. No, I don't think I have.
If you had to do an extreme sport, what would you do? I don't know what's considered an extreme sport. I can only think of like winter sports.
The things that I think of are like, like water skiing and.
Why is that extreme?
I don't know. I don't know if that's extreme. And like skateboarding and. This is a hard question because I am not an adrenaline junkie. I am not a risk taker. I've never broken a bone, knock on wood. So this question just doesn't even interest me. What about you? I know you are a total adrenaline
If it's something
junkie.
about like skydiving, is there some kind of skydiving extreme sport? I think I'd love that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Let's see. I just want to skip around stuff. What's a new hobby you've always wanted to try? That's a good one.
I don't know yet.
There's really nothing that you've been like, oh, I've wanted to try that. Like, that'd be fun.
I mean, there's been so many things that I've started and not finished. So like longboarding, I had a longboard once and never really like invested time. I had a guitar and I know how to play the piano. So I'm thinking like maybe like a musical Hobby. So, I mean, I love music. I love singing and playing an instrument. I don't think I'd have it in me to like play a new instrument and learn a new instrument, but maybe something like singing and performing wise, like joining a choir in town or like, like that kind of stuff. Brad's like rolling his eyes.
No, just that, I mean, it just doesn't sound fun to me, but it doesn't mean that it's not a fun thing for
Yeah.
you. It just
Yeah.
like singing in front of people is like a nightmare for me, not something I would ever enjoy doing. So,
A nightmare.
does like learning to fly count as a hobby? Like I've always wanted to like fly.
I think so. If
Yeah.
you have the luxury of it being a hobby then and not a career, then yeah.
Well, I mean, I have the GI Bill, so it would be paid for by someone
Yeah.
else. So, or learning to weld. Does that
Ooh,
count? Like I've always wanted to
gardening.
learn how to weld.
My mom gardens,
Yeah.
and I just think that's so cool. And in Florida and in Texas, like you can literally grow all year round and you can grow a lot of stuff. So that is something that I would love. I just feel like I tend to kill things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would have to work on that.
Yeah, probably. We could do some raised garden beds underneath the stairs.
I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Let's see.
There's someone spamming.
No, this. Okay. Let's see. What else we have? If you won the lottery, what would you do with the money and why?
I mean, it depends on how much because some lotteries are, let's say, 5 million and then you end up getting like 2 million. And then some are like 400 million.
Okay, it's $100 million and you got it all.
All right. So I would definitely give some to my family members. That's just who I am. And I know Brad and I have talked about this before, like whether that is something that we would truly do. I do think I would. And you'd have to do it and not care about what they choose to do with it. Because I think that's the issue is, hey, I'm going to give you this money and I'm expecting you to like make good choices with your life still. And usually that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think the problem though is that they tend to like come back to you and want more, and so I think that you'd have to set that expectation from your side as well that like, hey, I'm giving you this money and like that's it. Just because I won a ton of money, like first off, like I'm not required to give you anything, but I'm giving it to you because I love you and I care about you and I hope you use this to put yourself in a better situation. But I also said, I brought it up, like if you were a billionaire, like had $1 billion, even, you could hypothetically speaking, like put enough money into a bank account that was gaining interest on it that you could just take the interest out and kind of give your family a payment every year. So it really just depends on what you want to do. Yeah, you can give them a lump sum. Like you can be like, here's $1 million. Or you can give them $100,000 a year for the rest of their life.
Right.
So you just got to be careful, I think, with what you're going to do. And we'd obviously have to sit down and talk about it. But I think that I feel like I would want to take them on experiences rather than give them money.
Yeah. So next up, what I was going to say is I would love to like plan trips with, let's say, family, but then also like just plan trips with friends. I don't really have places that like, oh my God, I want to go here. That's not really what I don't have that. But
well, what about like what Breezy brought up? Like she wants to open her own winery and teach the community about science and have an animal rescue on the property.
I have one other desire I was going to bring up, but I wanted to finish like this little family. Well, I don't know if you have any more to say about the whole, planning trips and families and friends and.
Well, I mean, the $100 million, like that would equate to $8 to $10 million a year in interest if you just put it into an account like performing that kind of interest rate. So you technically would have $8 to $10 million to spend per year without even touching your 100 million. And then anything that you didn't spend would go back in it. So if you were like, okay, I want to take $1 million and divide that up between my family members, like give them $50,000 each family, so that's like, maybe that's how you spend $1 million of it. And then you're like, okay, another $1 million I want to take to enrich the lives of my friends and families by planning a couple of trips that I take all these people on and do this stuff and then this and that. But I think the truth is like I would live my life the same way I'm living it now, maybe minus the jobs, like take away the things I have to do for work. So like obviously we wouldn't do Fat and Weird, we wouldn't do coaching and stuff like that per se, because it's like there's no point in working because we already have the money.
Right.
But So yeah.
So one thing.
But I was saying like what I'm trying to say is level of comfort, like the house and stuff like that. I would live the same lifestyle. Like I wouldn't buy like a $10 million home and like all this stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm fine with like a mediocre, like a middle class life. You
Yeah,
know?
I would say that, buying a house in Montana would be a desire for sure, so that you had both, so I can go see my family, and use that time and place to do that. But one other thing that I have a desire in my heart to do, maybe I'll never do this, but I want to start I think it would be categorized as a nonprofit, but kind of like a Make-A-Wish situation where, we take funds and put it toward a trip or some kind of like desire for a family, but not someone who's like got a terminal, issue going on, but a family with kid with disability. So I've imagined that like at Disney, but I don't know if I want to like just keep it to just Disney trips.
Right. Because
It's
maybe
like-
maybe the kid really wants to go deep sea fishing or something, right? Yeah.
Or
So
Legoland or, whatever it is.
so
But I just
so
think
you
that'd
want
be
to you want to
so
start
awesome.
like a Make-A-Wish that is experience based for children with disabilities.
Mhm.
Do you know
like-
if there's something like that already exists though?
I'm sure there is, but I mean, I'm even thinking about starting it. Like, let's say I didn't win the lottery, but like that's just something that I have wanted to do. And I think once you start those things, it just kind of snowballs, personally. And so it's like, yeah, maybe I plan like one trip for one family in 2023. And then the next year, plan even more.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think
Yeah.
it'd be awesome.
I know some people we can talk to about it.
Wouldn't it be cool to like vlog it? Like I think people would just find that such a source of like happiness and hope
Yeah.
to like watch videos and experience a little bit with that family. So
Yeah.
it'd be so cool.
Someone asked, would we ever sell Fat and Weird if we got an offer? And it just really depends on what the offer was. Like I 100% am like, there's people out there that's like, I'll never sell my company no matter what. I'm not like that. If someone made an offer to me and it made sense, I would totally do it. So, yeah. Let's see.
Which of your parents are you most like, Brad?
Oh, you wanted to do that one? I just skipped
Yeah.
over it. My dad, 100%.
Really?
Well, my dad, I feel like I'm more like him, probably like personality wise. I'm very outgoing. There's a lot of things that he does things that I actually probably get annoyed by that I also do. But then I'm probably more like my mom mentally. So I know that's kind of weird because your personality is like a mental thing, but different, I guess. Like I am an overthinker. I am a planner. I am like a lot like my mom in the aspect of like how I think and the way I do things. And my mom, I think, is very much acts of service and just the way that she loves and communicates that love. And then just like her I guess mental aspect of things. She is a little bit has a little bit more anxiety, I think, like I do, and things like that. And then I have obviously my dad's personality, which is a lot more outgoing, talk to people all day sometimes. So
Yeah, I would completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I think you're both for
Yeah.
sure.
What about you?
I don't think I drift to one or the other either. I would argue that like nobody probably does. I am probably a little bit stubborn like my dad.
I'm gonna say I think you're a lot more like your dad than you are. Because
Yeah.
I've spent a lot more time with your dad, obviously, as of late, and a lot of one-on-one time with him. And I think you are a lot more alike
yeah.
than you think you are. Yeah.
He's in his older age has become a lot more emotional. And
No, I don't think he's become more emotional. I think he's allowed y'all to see more of the emotion. I think he's always been an emotional person. I think he's hidden that based on some traumatic experiences in his life. But
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah. So I guess you're saying I'm more like my dad then, huh?
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. I do. I think you are. I think you have a lot of characteristics that are similar to your mom, but I don't think that you're like your mom. Like if I had to pick just one, because if you had to pick just one for me, you'd pick my dad. I think.
I don't know. I
Oh.
think I might pick your mom.
Okay.
I really do. Yeah.
Yeah. But your dad, I mean, there's a lot that you're like your dad. It really is. I mean, I don't mean that in like a mean way or anything. It's just like you share a lot of characteristics with him. So
It's very interesting.
yeah.
like to talk about that more later. What are your love languages? Someone asked.
Yeah, so mine's definitely acts of service is how I communicate love, I think. But I don't really know how I like to receive love because it's not a language. It's not a like a love language. I just want to be desired and like wanted, you know? So
Yeah,
it's
I
not
don't think that's even like physical.
it's hard because it's not well, I mean it's in a physical aspect, it's in a verbal aspect. It's so it's just weird because like I've never seen that as a love language. So it's like someone could tell me that they're like, "Oh, I love you," or "Oh, I find you really attractive." But to me, words are empty without
Brad can tell you what he's not,
yeah.
and that's words. Like he doesn't.
Yeah, because I feel like anyone can say words. Like I could turn around and tell anyone in this like chat like oh, I love you. You mean the world to me. And it's like, prove it. You know what I mean? I'm like kind of like put your money where your mouth is. Yeah. And I'm not a gifts person just because I'm like, unless it's something that like I actually need, which I have everything I need in life, it's just you've wasted your money. I'm sorry. I just don't need it. Like, and I guess to me, if anything, time is the most valuable gift. So unless you're gifting me with you, so I guess it is kind of an act of service thing is how I feel love. But the act of service for me on a intimate level is like to feel wanted and desired. Yeah. So I know that's like, it's deep, really deep.
Well, but I think that's why I have a hard time with love languages because it does feel a little bit rigid. It feels a little bit like you're boxed in. And so sometimes when people have asked me like, oh, what's your love language? I'm like, I don't really know if I can pick just one. Because I do enjoy a lot and maybe like a combo of a lot. But I can, like Brad, I can tell you like what I don't, what doesn't matter to me. And that would be acts of service. Like I typically am like, doesn't really, make me feel loved. I'm a quality time person, I think. I love gifts.
Well, the hard part of it is with quality time is like you like quality time when you want quality time. Because there's times when Aubree's like, I just want to watch my shows and you just go like just go away. Like don't spend time with me. And so I'd argue that quality time people want quality time all the time with their spouses. Not all the time, but like majority of the time where I feel like there's a lot of time that you just want to be alone and like decompress. And it's just a part of that dynamic is we are with each other or just in proximity throughout the day. I think that yours is like more of like this deep conversational stuff. Like, you are like, I guess. I
think maybe that's why I'm saying quality time because, the conversations, like eye contact, those things are really important.
It's like mental stimulation is important to you.
Right. Or like you're interested in what I have to say. Like you're interested in, these topics that don't matter,
So would you say that yours is also feeling wanted and desired, but it's not a physical thing?
Yeah.
So like my want and desire is a physical want and desire. Like I want to feel like you like truly like long for me, if you will, and your want and desire is a mental thing. Like you want and desire to feel appreciated, to feel like you contribute and things like that.
Yeah. And sometimes that's offered in quality time. Sometimes that's offered in words of affirmation. Sometimes I feel that in physical touch. So that's why I do have such a hard time with love languages. I think it's great to think about and to think about what your spouse needs to feel loved, but it is a little bit like limiting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the love languages are a little bit too, like they're not encompassing enough to all the things that need to happen. But I mean, I can tell you that like, when someone flakes out on me, it hurts my feelings a lot more than it may hurt other people because I am acts of service. So like your word, like people's word mean a lot to me. And if you break your word, then like you're pretty much worthless as my friend. So unless there's some kind of like really huge event that stops you from coming to say something that you're coming to, like it really does hurt my feelings that you back out. So don't tell me yes and then back out. Don't tell me maybe and then back out. Just say no. And then if it gets closer, you're like, hey, I actually can make it. Like that's a win, right? So maybe that's a trick for me. Just tell me no. So, and I don't think that your love language necessarily changes with your partners unless there's a couple of things that you really need and you used to have one lower down because you were used to getting it and then now you're not getting it. So maybe it presents itself higher up just because like you didn't realize it was so important to you. But in general, I think the way that you feel loved stays the same.
Yeah. Breezy said, y'all have the sweetest connection. I completely agree.
Yeah.
But I want you to know that at home, like I want you to know, like Brad and I, our relationship is not perfect at all.
I think that
at
that's
any
something
time.
that we wanted to talk about too. Is that like a lot of times that social media can portray like such a perfect relationship, and I've said this before, that almost the more that you see couples posting about each other, usually, not all the time, and this is not 100%, usually they're going through something bad, unless they're just the kind of couple that always kind of post about each other. Like Aubrie and I kind of post lovey-dovey stuff here and there. But like if it's like you're like, man, they're posting a lot of stuff about how much they love each other. I really think that's usually when there's the most turmoil in a relationship.
Yeah, we've kind of seen this pattern of like, man, they're really in love. They're posting a lot, and then like,
Yeah.
2 months later, they're getting a divorce. So.
How many divorces have we been through with friends in social media right now? I mean, there's one we know of, another one
Two,
that's
I
going
know.
to be occurring soon, and then you can go back to like our Houston days,
3.
that one.
Yeah,
So I mean,
yeah. There's a. I mean, you said 50% of marriages and
yeah. So right now
divorce.
it's 50% of first marriages end in divorce, and then like 64% of second marriages, and then 72% of third marriages. So
yeah, we're aiming to not be part of that group.
Yeah, but I mean, Aubrey and I go to counseling. Like, we have issues. Like, we get mad at each other. Like, we definitely do not have a perfect relationship. I think that, part of it is like just choosing to work through those issues when you have them. And even if you like sometimes feel like they're so big that you're never going to get through them all, but you both have to be willing to do it. And I think what happens is one person decides that they just don't want to do it anymore. And that's when a relationship ends. Because truly, I believe that I could be married to probably 1,000 different people, if not more. And would some of these relationships be easier than the relationship that Aubrey and I have? Yeah, probably,
Right,
just
and so-
statistically speaking. So, but to go out and test that again and find it out and all that stuff, it's like, is your problems that big to overcome? Because you're never going to have no issues. I really don't think that. I don't think you're going to have no issues. It's just not going to happen. No one's perfect. So
I think with all the divorced couples that we know of recently, it makes me think of, well, it's a lot easier when you just get a divorce. Like, yeah, the divorce process is not easy.
depending on where you are in a family. I mean, with kids and businesses, it's not very easy.
Right,
But I would
lots
say
of
in
strings.
general, it's sometimes easier, I think, for people to think to start over than to fix what they've got.
Right. I think that, and I think that's why it is kind of that simple choice. And again, we're just kind of making blanket statements here. Every situation is different for sure. But sure, would life be easier without Brad necessarily? The arguments or the fights. Let's say the some of the things that we've been through. Yeah. But it's not a choice that I plan on making ever. So I think this year especially, I finally realized and got what people meant when they say that marriages work, because it is a choice. Like, I love you, but today, man, I really don't like you. And so today I am working on liking you.
Yeah.
And maybe that sounds bad, but it is true sometimes.
And then someone said, have we ever dabbled in Enneagrams? And the answer is no.
No.
I mean, we've been told that a million times. I've looked at them, but the truth is, I think that I can't properly assess myself is really the truth behind it. There's a lot of times that, truthfully, if you want to know the real you, have someone else that's very close to you fill out that stuff for you. And at the end of the day, I think that, they're not going to be 100% spot on, but like, that's like a lot of those Enneagrams will ask questions like, do you want to, this is not really true, but like, do you want to eat steak for dinner? And it's like, yeah, well, most of the time I do, but not every night. So maybe I am not this one, and I think that's what I talk myself into. I'm like, this one is kind of like, seems like you always want this, and I don't always want this. And even if it's like 50-50, I don't like putting myself in that box that makes it seem like I always want that thing. But no, I don't know. Maybe Aubrey and I should do the Enneagram test, but we did.
It'd be fun, I guess, to do it and then talk about it on a podcast.
But it's also a lot of work to figure out your Enneagram. There's like lots of reading, and I just don't got time for that shit.
Yeah, that's too much work.
Aubrey and I did do one at our couples therapy session, like counseling session, where we filled out one, and it was like a security, accountability. What else was on there, babe? Like
Safety.
affirmation, safety. There's like a bunch of different attention. So there's like 8 different buckets, and you kind of ranked everything from like 1 to 5, and then from there you kind of picked out what your top 3 and bottom 3 were. But even that, like there would be say a category like was attention or something. And there would be ones that had like 4s and 5s in, but then there would be a couple that have like a 3 or a 1 in. And so, and it would barely beat out another one. So it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, those kinds of things are really helpful because then you see how you're similar with each other, and how you can kind of like feed and foster those parts of your relationship. And then, you know, where you're different and where you're seeing like, okay, this person doesn't necessarily, this is how I can make this person feel safe and comfortable in this relationship.
And I think it's important because you can dissect, like in attention, since there was like 5 questions, you can dissect like what about attention is actually important, because they have a 1, even though attention in general is like their favorite thing. There was 1 that they completely disagreed with. What was that 1? And like, what's the thought process behind that specific thing? Because maybe I think that I'm giving them attention, but I'm giving it in the way that they don't, that's the 1 for them. Like I'm hitting the wrong note. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh, I love, in music terms, I love the way a C sounds, but you're giving them a C sharp, and they really love C flat. I just made that up. Is that even real?
Yeah, it could be.
Okay, sweet.
Good job.
I'm a musician. So
that made me think of one piece of encouragement that I want to end with, but did you have something that you wanted to say before I end it?
Wait, you were ending the podcast right now? Is that what you're saying?
I just have something that I think we could
close it in. And then Breezy asked if I'm very analytical, and I'm a very analytical person, and I don't attach emotions to analytics. So that can be very rough for Aubrie, because I'm like, I just say like, it doesn't make sense to do this. And she's like, yeah, but emotions say we should do this, you know? So, but go ahead if you want to wrap it up.
So one thing that our counselor has continued to say when we have been in sessions is, you have this strength and you have this strength. Like Brad has this, Aubrie has this. How can you blend those and make those work for you to be stronger as a couple in your, you know, as a team, in your businesses, in your family? And so that's what I think I can encourage you about if you're in a relationship, a permanent relationship. Look at the strengths of your partner, look at your strengths, and come together and really make it a goal for you to move forward and use those strengths as a team, like, and not let it push you apart.
Yeah, because some of those strengths can be things that you actually don't enjoy. Like Aubrie doesn't like certain aspects of my personality.
Okay, so Brad is quote unquote a lion and I'm a golden retriever. So
right, and so like a golden retriever sometimes will do whatever it is to make you happy at their own expense, whereas a lion will be very vocal and verbal about what they don't like, and sometimes that can come a bit harsh, like a lion's roar, but it's really just them trying to protect, and it doesn't necessarily have to be them, it could be their family. So a lot of times, like, I can see Aubrie getting burnt out over a situation, and she's not willing to tell the people that, and I'll watch her get burnt out. And so I react very harshly towards that person because I'm protecting Aubrie, and they get like, whoa, that was like, why'd you come at me that hard? But I'm coming at them hard because I'm like trying to protect Aubrie. And so what we've learned is that Aubrie has to let me set boundaries for herself because she won't set those boundaries. So I have to be the one that kind of sets and enforces those boundaries that she needs to set. But then she's also the one that will sometimes like needs to communicate things for me, because a lot of people think that I come off like too rough with them when it's just like my personality, and I don't mean anything by it. Like, I don't, like, when I tell you I don't like something, I'm not saying like I hate you as a person. I'm just saying I don't like that situation. So Aubrey's better at delivering that to people
rather than, you know, letting those things, those qualities and strengths like drive you apart. Like, think about and consider how you can put them together and use it for like the better of your family.
Yeah. So
that's great.
But I still want to end our things on would you rathers. So right. You need to pick one more question that we can ask while I look up a would you rather.
Okay. What would you do with a week of solitary confinement?
So, like, does this mean like, can I be solitary confined like with a pool. Like my dream is literally to wake up every day in a sunny area that has a pool in the backyard and like get on the computer maybe for a little bit, like maybe do some emails and then just like lay by the pool and swim, maybe work out. Like, could you imagine if you had like a little garage gym that's like attached to the pool, like and like Katie and Hayden have, work out like right there and then just like go jump in the pool when you get done working. It's my dream life. It's literally
I would
boring.
agree. It sounds very, very nice.
Yeah, it sounds boring to most
I would
people
probably
though.
read a little more than I do. Probably just.
So I
veg
essentially
for
just
an
said I
entire
want
day.
Katie and Hayden's life. That may sound terrible, but
You never know what they're going through.
okay. Would you rather have a flying carpet or a car that can drive underwater?
Flying carpet. Because I just feel like you'd get places faster, and driving underwater, like, sure, I could go to like Europe from here, but
You could do that on a flying carpet too, right?
I think it would be faster that way. Go zoom.
Yeah, I'd need to know the analytics behind this, like how fast does this go?
Talking like submarine status.
Yeah, submarines are slow.
I know. That's what I'm saying. How fast are they? Just kidding. Don't tell me that.
What? That's so weird. Yeah, that
Two
one's a
more.
weird one. Okay. Would you rather be the best in the world at climbing trees or the best in the world at jumping rope?
Climbing trees, because there's a lot more trees around than rope hanging.
Yeah, but I feel like I could go viral on TikTok with my jump roping skills.
Yeah. Wait. Okay. Yeah.
But what are you going to do? Like film yourself climbing trees on TikTok?
Yeah. I'd be a human monkey.
Well, I guess if you put like a GoPro on your head.
Yeah. I'd hang out with the animals.
It says both you could conceivably make a living with, and both are pretty good cardio. Okay, last one. Would you rather never run out of battery power for whatever phone and tablet you own, or always have free Wi-Fi wherever you go?
Free Wi-Fi.
Same. Yeah,
Definitely.
you should pick the battery one though, because your shit dies all the time.
That's true. That's true.
So someone asked, is the lion and golden retriever actually terms based off your personalities or just examples?
He's just used them as an example.
It's a test. I forgot.
we haven't
Remember
taken
he
it.
said there's a lion, a golden retriever. There's like
gopher,
a beaver.
Beaver.
A beaver.
We'll have to maybe ask him and see what.
Yeah, we'll have to
this
see what the test is. Maybe you can look up like lion, golden retriever, beaver personality test. But apparently it's a test you can take, and just based on like our personalities, that he's experienced through counseling and situations and stuff. Like he's kind of put us in those genres or whatever. But well, that's it. That's our podcast. Did you enjoy it?
I did.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep going through these questions
Next week.
Sure. I guess we essentially ended at question like 10. I'm really excited to read question 13 with you next week. But don't tell them. They'll have to come back.
All right, guys.
I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope you enjoyed the You're Worth It podcast.
You're worth it.